Yeah, there's a few themes that are going across. I mean, the number one is the Arkansas law with the forced pharmacy closure bills. There are 3 active or states that are currently still in session that are considering the same kind of law. What that does, it would change the entire model. We do have a specialty pharmacy. We don't force anyone to use it. And so we've kind of been advocating maybe work on options and choice versus eliminating the choice at all. It'll confuse a lot of patients, plus it'll decrease their access. So that's really kind of the biggest one that I think everyone in the industry is looking at if they have any ties with a pharmacy. After that, there's just general themes that we're seeing. One is the minimum reimbursement for pharmacies. And one thing we're struggling with in the states is they say, oh, independent pharmacies should get minimum dispensing fees, which is great, and that's the policy. The problem is, who are the independents and how do we identify them? And what we're finding is the departments don't have a list of how we're supposed to pay the folks. So then it kind of becomes a matter of, if they own 6 pharmacies, is that still independent? Is that a chain? So it's all about the language. And so we've been working actively with various departments, Indiana, Montana, a few others, Iowa, to try to identify who those, because we want to comply, right? But we want to make sure we're paying the right people and not giving an unfair advantage to a larger chain, which the legislature didn't intend. There is change among the states that, in fact, the states, some of them are pushing to have an exemption that their state doesn't have to comply with ERISA. They're looking for legislation like that, which is scary to large multi-state employers. Where we're seeing confusion, for example, here in the great state of Florida, a bill was passed, I think it was 1550, 2 sessions ago. It was enacted or passed in like March. It became effective July 1st, the same year. Mostly was mandating transparency, some reporting, most of the stuff, Navitus business model. One tweak was that you can't force folks to be subject to mail order. And a lot of plans say if you have 90-day supply, and it's an ongoing medication that's stable, you need to do it mail order. That was then removed, and you couldn't do that anymore. Changed the whole benefit model. The state said, well, that applies to even out-of-state self-funded employers. Under ERISA, you would think, well, that's a benefit design, right? Not so much. And then you've got the ambiguity on reimbursing pharmacies and network adequacy and access, right? Having a restricted network versus a large. Any willing provider, oftentimes some states say that applies as well, even though that seems like a benefit design as well. So that's where the ambiguity and the lack of clarity is. I don't think Congress has the appetite to open up ERISA. I think it just celebrates its 50th year. But there are states that are continuing to push back on many things that look like fundamental benefit functions. I do. The issue is there's a lot of frustration over what happened in December. And so there's not a lot of trust on either side of the aisle, even though they both agree that they want to do something. So it's really going to be up to the leaders on how they want to proceed. But I do think there is every intention to include reform. I think the issue is going to be, is it going to stay in the government program space, like Medicaid and Medicare, banning spread or mandating reporting, stuff like that? Or is it going to go further into commercial side of the house and say no spread or require transparency or establish fiduciary duty or various reporting requirements? That's kind of there's differences between what the Senate thinks. The Senate wants to be more broad, I believe, and the House wants to narrow it more to, I think, government programs. But we'll see how it falls out in the end.